Welcome to Earthtide Studios. I'm Zach Knight, and in today's video we are looking at the new Tapeface plugin from Kiive Audio. This is a plugin made by my mate Eddie over in Canada, and it's actually modeling a German tape machine. It has a whole bunch of cool functions that we're going to explore in this video, and if you like the plugin, we've got a link below where you can grab a copy. Okay, let's look at Tapeface.
We are going to be breaking down what is Tapeface, what it is, and why it's special. So, Tapeface is a tape saturation plugin. It's actually modeled off a German Scully 280B vintage tape machine with a few added features that weren't found in the original hardware. It's got quite a lot of really cool functionality, and it's definitely probably going to be one of my top picks for saturation for, you know, when I want that kind of subtle vibe, and even if I want something that's a bit pushed but in a kind of cool analog way. So I'll just run through some of the functions that we have in the plugin. So first things first, it's very, very user-friendly. We've got just the two sort of main panels here. You've got your input and your output here, and you can choose to link them. So in this particular case, you know, we've got them rolling up and down like that, and I can choose to unlink them there, and then the input and the output will be independent from each other. But let's bring them back in together. We also have down the bottom here, we have an awesome mix knob, which is very cool for a saturation plugin. It allows you to be able to scale up and down on how much saturation you want. You might pull like a really nice kind of sound that works really well, but you want to dial it back a little bit to make it sit better in the mix. That's something that you can definitely do quite easily with this plugin. A lot of other tape saturation plugins that I've used don't have a mix knob, and so that's what makes this quite special. Also, you know, we've got an undo and a redo button here if you make a mistake and you quickly want to go back to what you had with your setting before. So like, you know, moving those knobs around there, I can just go undo, back to where I was, link it up, and bang, it's right there and working well. Now, in terms of the plugin itself, there's a couple of different things that we've got rolling on here. So obviously we've got the input and the output there and the link. You can also change and check out the metering of what's coming in. So, you know, we've got input there, and then you roll it to the right, you get gain reduction, and then you get output. We'll just have a quick look and see how that works. So we'll play this song. We're looking at Rest by Color and Shade, by the way. This is a pop rock production that I've done. So we'll just use this and have a listen.
My head, 'cause my concern still grows within. It's not enough to push on through.
So as we can see there, the metering flicks in between input, gain reduction, and output quite easily. Now, this particular plugin has two different levels with the tape. We've got 7.5 IPS, which gives you a bit of a more modern kind of sound, and 15 IPS, which gives you more of a vintage kind of sound. So far, I think I'm the biggest fan of the 7.5, but we're going to roll through a few different ways to use this plugin on some mix bus stuff, and we'll see which one sounds nicer for what I'm using in this particular session. The other thing that's really cool about this plugin is that we have the option to roll it for a +3 on the bias. And this actually totally changes how the plugin works. So right now we're just running it at normal, and I'll show you what happens when we flick from the normal to the bias to see just how dramatic the difference is.
My head, 'cause my concern still grows within. It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to.
It's a very dramatic difference there with that saturation there. So, you know, you can really use that to make some very cool kind of saturation sounds going on there. The other thing that's cool is that there is a low boost here that you can use to bump up the low end, you know, on whatever particular setting you're trying to use. If you were really trying to push out like some cool saturation on a kick or an 808 or some bass, that could be kind of cool. Or you want to add a whole bunch of low end to a snare. It's really kind of cool to use a plugin like this to do that and make it sound a little bit different. The other thing that you can do as well is that you can actually add some good old fashioned analog noise. Depending upon what you're doing, that could be quite useful. You could even record out that noise and use it as white noise to be able to add onto a synth. There's so many different things that you could do with the saturation plugin implementing that noise. So now that we've done a quick run through of the plugin and all the different features it's got, let's actually start to use it in this mix. So first up, I'm going to put it on the guitar bus, and let me show you what the guitar bus sounds like right now without the plugin running. It's pretty cool, very clean, sounds really nice and warm. I know that these guitars, I recorded them, funnily enough, with an ESP Eclipse and also with a custom Telecaster. So got a nice whole bunch of sounds out of them and made it sound really nice. But I do feel like it's going to be just a little bit better if we change up the saturation. So I was running Slate Virtual Tape Machine on this, and I'm going to change it to Tapeface. So let's put that on right now. And I've decided I'm going to drive it a little bit harder, but roll the mix back. I've actually got the oversampling running on 4 times here, and I haven't selected one of the presets, although there are a number of really cool factory presets, and I'll show you some of them in just a minute. And I've got it on normal here. The bias hasn't been engaged. None of the noise, haven't boosted the low end. Let's turn it on and have a listen. So the first thing that I notice is it really makes those guitars just a little bit nicer in terms of the way that they sit together. It smooths out a little bit of high end, and it also just makes them sound a little bit warmer, a little bit less harsh, a little bit less pokey. Let's show it going on and off in the whole mix and have a listen.
I need a place to rest my head, 'cause my concern still grows within. It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to rest my head. Where do I go when my mind starts to wander? Snowballing.
So that might be a little bit hard for you to hear. It is very subtle, but this time around, I'm gonna play it again for you, and I'm gonna push the mix knob up, and I'm also gonna push the input knob up as well, and so you can really hear how that saturation is working. And obviously, I've dialed it back to make it work better in the mix, but this just gives you an idea of hearing how it actually sounds. So we'll solo the guitars, and we'll push the mix knob all the way up. So you can hear it's doing quite a lot to really make those guitars sit just a little bit nicer, control the warmth of them, smooths off a little bit of the high end, and it also just makes it, just sit a little bit nicer with the vocals, because there's so much focus on the vocals in this song, and the guitars are playing a very large part of the mix too, but they definitely need to have their place. Moving on, we're going to check out what Tapeface sounds like on vocals. Now, in this particular case, I decided to roll through and select the modern tape preset and make a few small adjustments to it just to get it sounding quite nice to work with this mix. And again, I've put the oversampling on 4 times just because I know I can push my computer a little bit harder. We've gone with the 7.5 IPS on this one. The bias is still at normal. I've got no noise, and we're driving it a little bit, but not too hard. And we're going to have a listen to what that is doing to the vocals. I feel like you're going to find it's going to really, really tighten up and make the vocal sound a lot more focused, even though there's quite a lot going on in this last chorus. Let's start with it on, and then I'll switch it off, and then you can hear the difference.
I need a place to rest my head, 'cause my concern still grows within. It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to rest my head. I need a place to rest my head, 'cause my concern still grows within. It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to rest my head.
So you can hear there that Tapeface is really helping that vocal sit nicely. There's a lot of high end in that pop vocal, and we really need to control that because obviously, in my processing, I've really pushed the high end, and both the singer, the lead singer on this one, and the backups as well. There's a lot of high frequency and a lot of sibilance in there. So as much as there's de-essing and all of that's gone in the mix, just controlling that a little bit more and smoothing that out in a nice, clean way with Tapeface has definitely made it sound super good in the mix. So I kind of wish that I had Tapeface when I actually did release, produce and mix this song. The song's already out right now, so I can't change the mix on it. But if I did have it at the time, I definitely would have been using it on this song because I think it sounds really awesome. So now we've had a chance to listen to Tapeface on guitars and vocals. Let's check out what it sounds like on drums. Now, this particular time, I decided to roll with the Drum Smash preset, and we're going to play around with a few different things to see how it affects the drums in this part, which is going to be the second verse of the song, which is when the drums kick in. It's a pretty cool, kind of chill section, but the drums are really pushed up as well. So we'll have a listen to what it sounds like without and then switch the plugin on. So I don't know if you heard, but the snare and the kick just got so much more character. They really just gave the drums just so much more power, but not in an over-the-top, undealable way, just in a nice, cool, kind of punchy way. And I definitely think that Tapeface is doing a lot of really cool things here, as we're driving it a little bit harder. I do have the mix all the way up. Depending upon how it works with the rest of the song, maybe I would dial the mix down a little bit. But I don't think I would hesitate to push Tapeface a little bit harder on drums especially if I wanted to get, as much sort of natural, sort of analog kind of vibe coming in on them. We're going to play around now and see what it sounds like with the rest of the song. And I'm going to flick the bias knob on and off and also turn the mix down so that you can hear how it sounds a little bit more pushed with the rest of the song.
How do I set myself free? Been bleeding with misery. You are not real at all. Been bleeding with misery. I need a place to.
So the first thing that I noticed by flicking on the bias knob is that it really pushed the low end and the low mids in a really kind of cool, but a little over the top kind of way. We're going to solo those drums again, play around with the bias knob and the mix again, and see if we can get a nice sweet spot. So where it is right now is a kind of cool place for some saturation, and it's making it a bit darker, a bit boomier, a bit punchier. It's kind of cool to use for maybe a section. If you wanted to add some real character to the drums, but still keep them sounding kind of similar to the rest of the song. I definitely wouldn't roll with this for the whole song. I do think I like it how it sits more with it just pushed a little bit, the mix roll to about maybe 70% or so, and sitting nicely with the 15 ips there for the whole song. So let's see what that sounds like with the rest of the track, and I'll turn it off, have a listen.
Where do I go when my mind starts to wander? Snowballing nowhere at all. I don't want to feel this trapped again. How do I set myself free?
I think I like it where it sits there. I probably would turn the output up just a little bit to make sure that it was matching a little bit nicer, because the volume, I didn't have the link engaged there, but the volume was just a little bit softer than it was before, so I think we'd have to turn it up a little bit. But that definitely sounds kind of cool, and I like the way that it's working with the drums there. Lastly, we're going to have a look at how Tapeface sounds on the whole song. Now, using tape saturation on your mix bus for the whole song it's a pretty common thing, and in this particular case, I thought the easiest way for us to get stuck into it and see how it rolls is by using the mix bus tape preset, which I have selected and I've picked 4 times oversampling again. Mix is 100%. And it's on 7.5 IPS, and we're pushing it at +5, and we've got that linked as well to make sure that the output is sitting, at the same level there. Let's play the song. This is rolling in from the end of the second chorus into the bridge/solo. So we'll have a listen to what it sounds like, and then we'll engage Tapeface and see what that saturation is doing to the whole mix.
It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to rest my head.
So what I'm noticing is the whole mix sounds like it kind of lifts just a little bit when we put Tapeface on. The high end is more defined, the low end is a little bit more controlled, and the mix just sounds like it sort of floats up a level. I really like what Tapeface is doing with the whole mix here. Just as an experiment, I'm going to dial the mix down, mix knob down, and see if that makes the result even better. So we'll play around with that for this playthrough.
It's not enough to push on through. I need a place to rest my head.
think that's the sweet spot. I'm really liking what it's doing there. The whole song does dip down a little bit in volume as you roll the mix knob down, but this is going into a limiter, and it's coming out quite a lot hotter than it would be for a final mix that I would send out for mastering anyway. So that's not really a factor. It's more about the tonal characteristic changes that the plugin are doing here. So this is Tapeface by Kiive Audio. It's very cool. There's so many different things that you can do with tape saturation, and these are just a few, key things that I've rolled through here in this song. I hope that you enjoy what you got out of looking at this plugin.
So that's Tapeface. It's a pretty damn cool tape saturation plugin. It has a whole bunch of different features that a lot of other saturation plugins don't have, and it sounds great. I'm definitely going to start using it in a lot more of my mixes, but I would love to hear what your favorite tape saturation plugins are, or any other things that you use to add character and analog vibe to your mixes. Like I said before, if you want a copy of the plugin, there's a link below where you can grab a copy. If you like this video, we've got heaps of other videos breaking down production and mix techniques, fresh ones every Thursday. For now, take it easy.
Bye!